Hey everybody, it's Mike from the Mike Wagner Show, powered by Sonic Web Studios and brought to you by official sponsor of the Mike Wagner Show, international warring author Mia Molson's The Missing, available on Amazon and paperback and ebook. We're here with two terrific gentlemen, an alternative rock group based out of Santa Rosa Beach, Florida, and we have a gentleman here who's a self-taught guitarist from Johnson City, Tennessee, since childhood, later moving to Florida. We also have a vocalist as well too from Dallas, Texas, began the career in '06 after professional bull riding injury and worked with Zen Rising and LA Guns as well. And they come together with two other legends as well too to form Kickstand Jenny. And what's the story behind it? Well, they'll tell you between the lines. Live, ladies and gentlemen, from the Plus Studios in beautiful Santa Rosa Beach in Dallas, Texas. We have today Scott Foster Harris, the vocalist, and also Preston Morlock, the guitarist of Kickstand Jenny from Spectra Music. Ladies and gentlemen, we are Kickstand Jenny. And guys, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you for having us.
Well, it's great to have you on board, guys. So let's start with you, Scott. You're a vocalist from Dallas, Texas. Began a career in 2006 after a professional bull riding injury, and he worked with Zen Rising and LA Guns. And also we have Preston as well, too. You're a self-taught guitarist from Johnson City, Tennessee, since childhood and later moving to Florida. You also have Chris McCombs, the bassist, self-taught from Fort Walton Beach, Florida, began in 2000. You also have AJ Sepos, the drummer from Santa Rosa Beach, played with various bands since '05. And you guys had opened up for Slaughter, Living Color, Sebastian Bach, LA Guns, LIT, and you have a concept album which is called Between the Lies, which is basically taking on a musical journey. So before we get into the journey, guys, tell us how you first got started.
Preston, go for
it. So we were doing a concept album, and I have a friend up in Nashville. His name's Chess Sanford. He's an old producer guy. I've been doing it forever, songwriter. And I just looked him up. I'm like, hey, I've been writing these songs. I want to do like this concept album. So we got together and went through a few demo songs. We got Mark Slaughter to come on, had a few other guys. And I found Scott. Interestingly enough, we had just finished a show with LA Guns, and I saw where he had been a former singer of LA Guns. And so I reached out to him for the concept. And as we're going through these songs, Scott did a couple songs for us, and the producer's like, okay, who's this guy? You know, he just stopped in his tracks. He's like, listen, I've been doing this 44 years. He's like, that's your guy, you know, and he's good friends with Mark Slaughter. And he's saying this in front of him. He's like, this is your guy. This is the guy you need. He's like, I don't care what you do. When you go home tonight, you call him and see if he wants to do this project. And that's how it happened. I called him up and sent him some songs. He liked what he heard. And the rest is history. We, you know, a couple months later, we're in Nashville recording this album.
Oh, that's really interesting as well, too. We'll get to more of that. And before we get to Scott as well, too, Preston, you've basically been a self-taught guitarist from Johnson City, Tennessee, since childhood. He later moved to Florida. And, you know, tell us how you got started in your career as a guitarist and, you know, what influenced you as well, too. So let's talk about how you got started in music.
Me?
Yes.
Okay. So my mom was a gypsy. I'll just put it that way. And she had this boyfriend who went all over the place. So we would always end up with him in the summers. And he had all these guitars. And one day he's playing, but he's playing along with these songs, whatever. And he puts on, and I said, you know, I'd like to do that. And he said, let me play you a song. And he put on this song by Van Halen called Eruption. And it's just, you know, I'm sure you've heard it, but it's just Eddie and a little bit of drums.
Oh, yeah. And a little bit of Michael as well, too. Very, very tiny.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And I was like, okay, who are these guys playing the guitar? You know, he's like, oh, that's one guy. And I'm like, okay, I want to do that. So he bought me a guitar, this old SG Junior. He was left-handed, I'm left-handed, but we both learned to play right-handed. And so it actually made it easier to learn, you know, the tapping and stuff because, you know, I'm kind of ambidextrous. So that's how that began. And I was playing or trying to play Eruption before I even knew how to play a chord. That was just, I kind of went backwards about it, but that was my influence, Van Halen. That's how I got started playing guitar. So,
and who is your other favorite musicians and guitarists growing up?
Oh man, I really like Joe Satriani, Kylie, guitarist. Man, there's a lot, too many to mention, man. Bands, as far as bands go, I'm okay. This is going to sound bad. I'm an '80s hair metal guy. I like Bon Jovi. I like Aerosmith. I like Journey. I like all those, rock bands that had the ballads and all that stuff. So
Mm-hmm.
I was kind of had a soft spot, I guess. But that's and the Van Halen, of course. So.
Mm-hmm. And of course, you have a lot of influence as well, too. And of course, we'll go to Scott here as well, too. You're a vocalist from Dallas, Texas. Began a career in '06 after a professional bull riding injury, and you worked with Zen Rising and LA Guns. And tell us how you first got started in the business.
Man, I'm just an idiot that got into music just to try to pick up girls.
Of all the
There
many
it
guests
is.
I've had, that's the first one, and I can admit that's a really good way to go.
Cold, hard facts.
First honest answer.
Shoots you straight. That's why I got into it. But I'm glad I had that motivation. If I didn't have that motivation, I probably would have never gotten into music. So we take what we can get, and I was strongly motivated to do so back then. After the revolution,
And it worked, right?
and that's it. Say that again.
It worked, right?
Yeah, I mean, it depends. People have different. It depends on how you measure success in such an endeavor. But I kept doing it. I stayed in music, so. But that's initially what got me in. But really quickly, I learned that there's something to this. I like this. This goes beyond just the my carnal interests at the time. It spoke to the soul.
That's rather interesting. Was it one precise moment that simply influenced you what you're doing for the rest of your career?
Man, say that there was a bit of a lag.
Oh, I'm sorry. What was that one precise moment that influenced you into what you're doing for the rest of your career? What was a precise moment for you? Very precise.
Man, I can give it to you. So I was going to the University of North Texas at the time, and my previous university was A&M, Texas A&M, Commerce, and I was in a fraternity there back in the day. And I got into music late. I didn't get into music till I was 18, and really not until I was 19. But they called me and asked me if I wanted to come. They'd found out that I'd started playing guitar and just fooling around, singing songs, writing songs for fun. And they called me, even though I was in Denton. They said, "Hey, you wanna come down to this blah 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 party? And there's a big stage in an auditorium. We're gonna put on acts for an hour and a half, and then we're going to party afterwards." And I was like, you know what? Yep, I sure do. Never done that before, but let's do it. So I did that. So I drove down Commerce and had no idea what I was doing. Didn't really know how to play or sing. Just kind of had an inkling. And dude, I walked out on stage. I put the stool down. I sat down, got the microphone ready, and I just sang this song. And I'm 100% convinced it was absolutely atrocious, but that didn't matter. What mattered was that the energy in that place focused on me, whether it was, look, this is a great experience, or this is a terrible experience. I just fell in love with the spotlight, the limelight. It was for selfish reasons at the time. Now I try to avoid it, but I loved it at the time. And that was like, and I could just see their faces. I could see them, looking at me. That's like, man, this is for me. I'm just gonna do this. I'm gonna be really bad for a long time. I might not ever be good, but I'm gonna do it anyway. And that's what I did.
That's right. Interesting. And in Preston, I'm sure you can make him better, right?
Dude, let me tell you about Scott. He is the most humble human you'll ever meet. I was so worried when I met him, knowing that he came from the LA Guns, because those guys can be a little hard to work with sometimes. But this guy, he came in the middle of the night doing a photo shoot and was the most humble, nicest guy you'll ever meet. It blew my mind, because most, usually the rule of thumb is the better you sing, the bigger diva you're going to be. You know what I mean? But he has none of that. He's so humble. He's so talented. He's a natural, man. He can do, and I didn't even know he could play piano till we were filming a video up in Nashville. We were in, was it George Jones's house?
It was.
And he sits down and starts playing a George Jones song. Like, he's like, man, I hadn't played that song in 20 years, but it sounded like he'd been practicing forever. It's, I mean, this guy's always blows my mind. He's super talented, man. I can't compete. He's
Thank you.
that good.
Thank
So.
you. I'm just trying to be like you.
Right. There you go. I mean, we all try to be like that too. And of course, before you got into singing as well, too, you got into a bull riding injury. It's like, what happened on that one?
Man, I was young. I was dumb. I needed the money, just one of those situations. My good buddy, one of my childhood friends, he had an older sister who was dating, as it turned out, a bull rider. When I was 17, I think. And I just found out he was a bull rider, and I was like, yeah, I would like to try that. I always played football in high school, and I enjoyed the hard hitting sports. Even though I wasn't good at it, I enjoyed it nonetheless. And I thought, that sounds like fun. I would like to do that. And so he was like, well, I'm going to Mansfield to practice tomorrow. You want to go? I was like, yeah. And I went, and I got hooked, for a couple of years. And then the injury was, there's a lot of injuries. There were always injuries. I've had part of my ear torn off, had a lot of broken stuff, but the big one, the one that got me into music was, I got hung up, which is where oftentimes the bull, whenever you're tightening up the rope, the reason you see people spurring the bulls in the pens is so that they'll kind of let all their air out so that you can get the rope as tight as you can. Because if they still have a lot of air in their bodies, when they do burst out of the gate, the rope will become very slack and you don't have a good grip. And that's what happened. And my wrist got turned over. And so there's a lot of rosin. You'll see them really yanking on the rope, and that's to get that's to heat up the rosin that you put on the gloves and on the rope in order to make it sticky so that you can get a better grip. And I think we even used glycerin back then. I don't know if that's legal anymore, but we used to, which makes it extra sticky. Anyway, the rope got slack. My hand turned over. I got hung up. And that's whenever you watch, if you were to ever watch it on TV back in the day, and you'd see spinning around and the guys are spinning around and you're like, why don't you just let go? Because they can't, because it's what's called being hung up. And I was hung up, and it broke a lot of my carpals. My metacarpals messed up my wrist pretty bad, my thumb. And so I had this, I just had a big old cast on with my thumb sticking out. Wow. And I just kind of learned to play guitar with my thumb just to pass the time. And when I was 18, and I just decided I like this a lot more.
I'm sure that's no bull right there too. And of course, we'll talk about some of your music as well too. Between the Lines with Kickstand Jenny featuring Preston Morlick and Scott Foster Harris. But first, listen to the Mike Wagner Show at the MikeWagnerShow.com, powered by SonicWeb Studios. Visit online at SonicWebStudios.com for all your needs. Look at a professional website without breaking your budget. SonicWeb Studios is the answer. Sonic Web Studios offers fast, affordable custom web designs that blow the competition away. Call today, 1-800-303-3960. That's 1-800-303-3960. Or email to support@sonicwebstudios.com. Mention the Mike Wagner Show. Get 20% off your first project. Sonic Web Studios. Take your image to the next level. Also, time to give a official shout out to our official sponsor of the Mike Wagner Show, international award-winning author Mia Molson-Zia. If you love fast-paced mysteries, you'll love Missing by Mia Molson-Zia, available on Amazon and paperback and ebook. Missing is fast-paced and intriguing with an unforgettable twist. Takes place in 4 countries, 2 strangers, 1 target, where truth is illusion and those who love be the first go missing. It's available on Amazon and paperback and ebook. Missing by Mia Molson-Zia has got great reviews, and Eve 11 enjoys by Howard celebrities, including Jonah Cassidy, Forbes Riley, and Minnows. So grab your copy today for it goes Missing by Mia Molson-Zia, available on Amazon. Also, check out the Mike Wagner Show at the MikeWagnerShow.com and over 40 podcast platforms. Heard in 100 countries, including Facebook, SoundCloud, Spreaker, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. Also, Anchor FM, iTunes, Google Play, Amazon, Audible, Apple Music. Follow and subscribe on YouTube, BitChute, and Rumble, and also on LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and more. And take us with you on any mobile device. And for great gift ideas, go to Amazon.com. Check out the Mike Wagner Show podcast. T-shirts, pop sockets, throw pillows, tote bags, hoodies, makes great gifts 24/7. Go to Amazon.com. Check out the Mike Wagner Show podcast. And for more great gift ideas, go to Amazon.com/Mia Molson-Zia for great books like Missing, Once, and Wrinkles. Also T-shirts, pop sockets, hoodies, phone cases, and more. Amazon.com/Mia Molson-Zia. Check it out today and support the Mike Wagner Show on Anchor FM, PayPal, and themikewagnershow.com as well. And we're here with the amazing alternative rock group based out of Santa Rosa Beach, Florida, Kickstand Jenny here on the Mike Wagner Show. We're here with Preston Morlick and Scott Foster Harrison. Before we talk about the concept down Between the Lies, tell us about the beginning of how you got the name Kickstand Jenny.
Well, hey, before I start that, I do want to mention I want one of those pillows, and I'm going to get one. I really like that pillow. I will be sleeping on that.
Oh, there you go. You know what? Yeah, feel free to order afterwards. Son, we encourage you to do that. Feel free.
Don't think it won't happen. Don't think it won't happen. So I'm sorry. So back to the question: how the band name come about?
Yeah, Kickstand Jenny.
Woo! All right. Well, okay. So we had a little foot fetish thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I had this magazine, and it's not going to go that way. It was a Victoria's Secret magazine, and there was this beautiful model standing on the back, and she was kind of leaning up against the wall, and the only thing on the ground was her second toe. And I saved it and circled it for my wife, and I'm like, look at this kickstand. And we were like, oh my God, because it was like the longest, these skinny models, some of them have these really long second toes. So that became a kickstand. So then it became where every time we'd see a girl with a long second toe, we'd be like, oh, cool. There's a kickstand, right? So fast forward a few years, there was this girl that used to come to all of our shows, beautiful blonde. Her name was Jenny. And she always wore sandals to the shows. So, and I want to tell you this though, Mike, you're the first person we've ever told the truth to, because, it might hurt her feelings, but she knows it's about her now, but it's about that toe, man. So now you're going to look every time you see a girl, you're going to look at that second toe and see if she's got a kickstand or not. And if she does,
that's really interesting. So I guess I'll look at my wife's toes or my daughters or her friends and all that, and I'll take a look at the second toe and say, hey, is that a kickstand or is that a Harley or something? I could ask you that too. So.
Yeah, and honestly, I hate to tell the truth about that. Usually we come up with a big lie, but you got the truth. That's what happened. Jenny is a lovely person inside and out. She got that second toe, man. It's just dragging the ground. It's a kickstand.
Oh my gosh, I'm about to start looking at second toes from now on if I go to shows or anything like that. So I'm glad you brought that up. So
all right. So now when you see our logo, so the whole goal is that when you have a logo, if you see the golden arches, right, it's McDonald's. You see that tongue, it's Rolling Stones, right? Mm-hmm. So now when you see that our logo, you'll notice what it's about, and you'll see that second toe is red, or it's longer, or whatever. But that is because, there's meaning behind it. So check out when you see the logo. I don't know if you have access to it. It's on the website and everything, but check it out. It's got deep.
We'll certainly do that as well too, and that's a great point as well too. And you also have a concept album, Between the Lies, which is a concept album taking you on basically a musical journey from beginning to end. Which is we'll be playing two songs at the end of the audio interview featuring Tonight and Jumping Jack Flash. Lots of classic rock covers as well too, and it's basically the birth and rebirth of a soul death, which is live music. And take us on this journey as well too with Between the Lies, how you got started and work your way through this journey.
So,
and Scott, feel free to jump in too. So
I like to let Preston take these types of questions because he's kind of the mastermind behind this, and we're just lucky to be on the ride with him.
Mm-hmm. You see what I mean? You see how humble he is? I don't understand. He's like the most talented guy I've ever met, and he's so humble. Yeah, Mike. So this started 3 years ago, and I kind of had this idea of from start to beginning, I wanted to do a concept, and it was kind of where my head was at the time. And if you follow the tracks, like Love It or Leave It, was basically you can look at every song, and you would think it's a relationship between a man and a woman or whatever. But it's really where my head was at the time as far as music goes. So it was really me singing or writing about the music. Love It or Leave It is how it starts, and then it goes on to Tonight You're Gonna Play Tonight. That's after you leave it. Solo is the song that features Mark. That's about just being done with it, going solo. And then it goes on to regretting it, which is kind of how it is. You regret leaving it, and then at the end, it ends. It's kind of like a phoenix rising from the ashes, and that's where the Rolling Stone song comes into play. And that's honestly where when I met Scott, is when things took a turn for the better, as far as like, okay, maybe this is cool, maybe this is a good thing to keep doing. So that's kind of, it was more of my headspace at the time. So if you listen to it, and I don't want to bore you with the details, but if you listen to it, it tells a story of just letting go. And then once you let go, because I've been in the music business for years, and I took a 10-year hiatus, and I missed every daggone minute of it. You know what I mean? And then I wanted it back so bad. And that's kind of how this is. You get tired of it, and you want it to be gone, be done with it, and then you'll miss it. So that's what it's about.
It also happened to be caused by the pandemic as well, too. That seems to be a very, very popular, theme as well. You had live music, and all of a sudden, COVID, the pandemic hit in March 2020. It's like everything just came to a crashing halt. And, you guys are no exception as well, too. And of course, how you manage it, handle it, and everything. And of course, I've talked to some people, and everyone handled the pandemic differently.
Yeah, and for us, it was an excuse to go to the studio. So it was a blessing in disguise. I hate to say it was a blessing, but it was a blessing in disguise for us, and it gave us some time to really tweak this. And part of me, I'm so impatient, but the 3 years that it took has enabled us to have Scott. It's enabled us to really tweak the album and make it what we wanted it, and it's enabled us to get a record deal with Spectra, which is that probably wouldn't have happened if we had rushed it out. So this has been a huge, big blessing. That's all I can say about that. So.
And of course, Mark Slaughter is on there as well too, with solo as well too. You had some pretty good ones as well too, and you also had you open up for Slaughter, Living Color, Sebastian Bach, and L.A. Guns as well too. In fact, I had a guy from L.A. Guns, Stacey Blades, was on there too.
Do you know him, Scott?
No, he was with Phil.
Okay.
He was with Phil when they had the when Tracy and Phil were separate. Tracy had his version, which is the one I was with, and then Phil had his version. Now they're after many years they've reconciled and they're back together. And I don't think Stacy's in the band anymore. In fact, I'm almost positive. Maybe he is, as the other guitar player, but no, I never met him. I met Phil, hung out with Phil. Phil's a great guy. I recorded their vocals for their Christmas album a couple years ago in Vegas before it all shut down. Because he came over to our studio and Phil did and cut all the vocals at our place. Wonderful guy. I'm happy that they're back together. But no, I don't know Stacy.
Okay, we just wanted to confirm that as well too. Of course, you had worked with Slaughter. Living Color was also another one too, and they had that Cult of Personality, which was '88. You opened for them, and you had Lit as well too. And just more about opening up, and if there's anything else you want to share about other songs, other stories you did as well too, and feel free as well.
Yeah, I mean, opening up for all those guys were great. Man, Living Color, I love them growing up. I love the Cult of Personality. I love the guitars, and I mean the whole band is just amazing. So Lit was actually, they were doing a tour when we were with them. They were touring with they were doing a kind of a country album, and they were called the Pop Off Brothers. It's the two brothers, a guitarist and the singer, but they had Lit was doing those songs, and man, they were great. And they actually moved to Nashville, and Jeremy, or not Jeremy, it was AJ Popoff. We actually reached out to him to do Tonight, and he wasn't able. But like I said, this was before Scott came on board. So, but they're all a bunch of great guys, and really like them. And man, we've been blessed. We've been so blessed. I don't know why. I don't know what I did in my previous life or whatever, but I'm a blessed guy.
And certainly is. And then Scott, is there anything you want to add as well?
You mentioned that they're all great guys. Most of the people that you meet in the industry, they're good folks. They're fun people. I'll tell you where the outliers lie, at least in my experience. This is just in my experience. The people from the bottom up to where you're kind of successful, great people. And then the people at the very top down a bit, great people. I find that most of the egos and most of the attitudes exist in that little range in between where your level of success has far exceeded the average level of those who are fortunate enough to be successful, but has not yet reached mega status. And that little, and I don't know why. There's theories, I have hypotheses, but I don't know why. But most of the unpleasant personalities that I've encountered, and there are some, they've all been there. But everybody below that, or everybody that's really successful, at least the ones that I've had the privilege of knowing and working with, they're great. They're easy. They're fun, lovely folks. So it's no surprise that the majority of the people that Preston opened for back before I got involved, no surprise to me that he says most of them are just great guys. That's the case across the board, at least in the music industry.
And certainly a lot, as well too. And of course, with the album as well too. And where can we find Between the Lines and all your works at?
Right now, I mean, the album comes out on June 9th. We're doing some pre-save campaigns right now on our website, kickstandjenny.com. That's really what we're hoping. And the problem is you can't hear the album until June 9th, but we've got a couple songs out. Our video for Jumpin' Jack Flash is on YouTube, on our Facebook and our YouTube channel. But once you get the pre-save, then you can get the album on June 9th. That's about, I guess we're on Spotify, we're on iTunes, we're on all this stuff, all the streaming. And then hopefully we'll have the physical CDs and albums after June. So that's the way it's looking. It's going to turn out that way. But man, it's good stuff. I hope everyone can just give it a chance and listen to it, because this is really a good album. And we're proud of it. We're happy with it.
Yeah.
We think it can be successful. Go ahead, Scott.
And certainly did as well too. What's coming up for Kickstand Jenny with Preston and Scott? We'll find out just 1 minute. You listen to the Mike Wagner Show at the MikeWagnerShow.com, powered by Sonic Web Studios, and brought to you by official sponsor of the Mike Wagner Show, international war-ring author Mia Molson's The Missing. We'll be back with Kickstand Jenny's Preston Morlick and Scott Foster Harris after this timeout. We're back with Kickstand Jenny from Spectra Music with Preston Morlick and Scott Foster Harris here on the Mike Wagner Show. It was great talking to you guys about Between the Lines, your experiences, and how you came about and taking on this journey, and what else can we expect you guys in 2023 and beyond.
Hopefully we tour supporting the album. I think we're working on getting that together. We're excited to see how the album does first couple of months, and ideally we'll be on the road for a while. Ideally, we'll be on the road and the air for a while. That's our goal.
Hopefully we can make it to North Dakota.
Touche, sir.
Yes,
I have to continue my enjoyment of North Dakota.
And no bull riding, guys, okay? No bull riding, please, okay?
No promises, but
that's a normal, it's a normal day in Dallas, man.
Yeah,
right?
that is very true. That's very true. And we do have some as well, too. Of course, we'll talk about it off the air as well, and with some kickstands as well, too. And who do you consider biggest influences in your careers?
Ooh, that depends on what stage. I got started in country. I'll go back all the way to Hank Sr. and Lefty Frizzell, Merle Haggard, of course, George Jones, naturally. Then on into the rock world, into where I got into the Doors, of course, the Beatles, naturally, and Stones. Robert Plant, Jim Morrison. I love Bon Scott from AC/DC. And I love Brian Johnson, too. But Bon just had that, he had that something. And then on into the 90s, I love Stone Temple Pilots, love Nirvana. Of course, I was a kid, but, I loved it. I knew it was something special. Loved Alice in Chains. Chris Cornell, he was fantastic. Those are the three eras for me. I think the 50s and the 60s for country, the late 60s and the 70s for rock, and then the first half of the 90s for rock. Those are my, off the top of my head, spitting them out. I can go into some crazy very interesting places musically. But for the sake of staying contemporary and popular, I'll stick with those.
Certainly do so. And that's really amazing. And how about you, Preston?
Man, again, I can't top that, but I got to ask Scott something. Stones or the Beatles?
If I had to pick one,
Yeah.
I'd go with, man, if I had to, I'd have to say the Beatles.
Yeah,
If I
most
had
people
to.
do.
But I'd
What
be
about you,
mad
Mike?
about it. I'd be mad that I had to say it. But if I had to pick one, if it was one or none, I'd have to go with the Beatles.
All right. What about you, Mike?
Oh, let's see. Are we on Stones or Beatles, or are we simply just going to other
Stones or
genres?
Beatles? One or the other. Stones or
Well,
Beatles?
I'm a probably tick off a lot of Mick Jagger fans, but I'm going with the Beatles because the fact that all four managed to come together, all four succeeded as a group, they split, and all four succeeded in the Hall of Fame. It's like everybody worked together, everybody came together in harmony, everybody pretty much just created everything. Of course, the Stones were great as well too. But the problem is, you have Mick Jagger try to go solo. I mean, what, he had one or two hits and didn't do anything afterwards. Keith Richards try a solo release, and then the others, it's like, did they do any solo releases? I mean, I guess that's the thing. So, I mean, they revolutionized just about everything, but I'm probably going by Beatles by a hair, to be honest with you. So, I still love Making the Boys, though. So,
yeah, I think I like the Stones because of their longevity. Of course, the Beatles just couldn't stay together. But you're right; it's a good argument about they were all equally good on their own. So,
but the one guy I'm impressed with on the Stones, and he passed on, Charlie Watts. I mean, the guy is so impressive. He's got like just 5 pieces. Mick and the Boys are running around in t-shirts, torn jeans, and everything else. And here's Charlie Watts in a 3-piece suit. He's got a spiffy tie, and he was just really calm and cool as a cucumber up there. So
yeah, he was calm. That's for sure.
oh, definitely a cool cat. I mean, he's really impressive. I mean, no, not to just Ringo Starr or anything, but Charlie Watts, to look at him as like 3-piece suits and everybody else is ragged. It's like, oh my gosh, that's something. Yeah. And also, lastly, what's the best advice you guys can give to anybody at this point?
Just go for it, man. Just go for it. What have you got to lose?
Yeah, I would say, look, man. I mean, we've been doing it for a long time, and we're just now kind of, earning our stripes. And I say that for me specifically, not necessarily Scott, but man, just don't give up and keep going. If you do it because you love it, everything else will fall into place. And that's what we're doing. We're doing it because we love it. And look what's going on. We've got a great album. We've got, we're going places that I never thought I'd go. And, the money and stuff comes with that. So don't do it for the money. Don't do it for the fame. Do it because you love it, and everything will fall into place. That's my advice.
And that's certainly true as well, too. We're here at Kickstand Jenny's Preston Morlick and Scott Forrest Harris from Spectra Music here on the Mike Wagner Show with Between the Lies. Guys, a very big thank you for your time. You guys have been absolutely fantastic. Looking forward to having you again soon. Keep us up to date. Keep in touch. Love to have you back. And once again, what's your website? How do people contact you? Where can people purchase or check out your works, especially Between the Lies?
So everything's going to be, you can, if you go on kickstandjenny.com, you can find all of our streaming. You can pre-order the album. You can get samples on iTunes through the website, the store, the links, everything is right there. It's actually well done. And you can find you can contact us that way. I think you can even call Scott if you want through the website. So anything you can think of. Send him a text message.
Yeah.
And you'll hear from Kickstand Jenny, I'll tell you that. The girl with the second toe. So
that's what I'm worried about. I don't know what kind of repercussion I'm going to have from this.
well, we'll see what happens. We'll probably get those Kickstand second toes up. That'll be next time. Guys, a very big thank you for your time. You've been absolutely amazing. Looking forward to having you again soon. Keep us up to date. Keep in touch. Live, have it back. Wish all best. And Preston, Scott, and all you guys at Kickstand Jenny, you guys definitely have a great future ahead of you.
Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure.